All right, let's get started. Good afternoon and welcome back to the CalCCA 2021 annual meeting. I want to thank Calpine Energy Solutions for sponsoring the lunch networking break, and a special thank you to the lunch hosts. I hope folks took advantage of the virtual networking opportunity to connect with CCA staff, consultants, partners, and friends. All right, settle in. At each annual meeting, I try to carve out some time in the program to reflect on where we've been, where we are now, and where we are headed. That seems particularly appropriate this year as our trade association, Pcia, marks its 5th year of operation. That's right, we are 5 years old. Looking back at the last in-person CalCCA annual meeting held in 2019 at Redondo Beach, Assemblymember Al Marisucci observed, CCAs have gone from being the new kids on the block to the cool kids on the block to becoming the big kids on the block. When I look back at our growth in the past 2 years, and I'm not just talking about the number of CCAs or the number of customers now being served by CCAs, but in terms of our impact on clean energy procurement and decarbonization of our local communities through implementation of local programs, I think we may be outgrowing the kid title as we take on a more central role to achieve the climate goals of the state as well as our communities. Examining the evolution of the organization and the CCA community to this point requires going back even further, 19 years to be exact, to the year 2002 when Carol Migden authored AB 117. Assemblymember Migden's stated objectives in authoring AB 117 were to invest in cleaner energy and reduce exposure of municipalities to volatile energy markets. While the data supports achievement of the first objective, I'm afraid we have not been successful at the second. All energy providers, certainly in the Western states, are struggling with the volatility brought on by a combination of climate change, wildfires, drought, scarcity of reliable resources, and growing concerns about transmission capacity, project permitting, and supply chain issues. The electricity grid is transforming, and the uncertainty of the transition cannot help but impact electricity markets. There is no question that CCAs have contributed to the transformation of California's electricity sector. Currently, 24 CCAs are serving over 11 million customers, more than a quarter of the state's population. This year, San Diego Community Power and Clean Energy Alliance launched service in San Diego County. As additional launch phases are rolled out next year, we estimate that more than 50% of the customers in San Diego Gas and Electric's territory will be served by CCAs. A tipping point for SDG&E has stated publicly that they want out of the generation business. Going forward, I expect the trend you see here to continue, with the majority of the incremental load growth the result of expansions of existing CCAs to new communities. Along with the growth in the customer load served by CCAs, the resources under CCA contract and development have grown. This year marked a construction boom for CCAs. There's a clean energy building frenzy underway due to the diversity of resources that CCAs and their clean energy partners are currently deploying in California and the West, including wind, solar, geothermal, energy storage, and microgrid technologies. These and other projects are making a material dent in meeting California's resource needs. On November 3rd, CalCCA published our annual procurement update. It illustrates how CCAs continue to aggressively add more diverse clean energy resources to their portfolios. 21 CCAs have collectively signed 162 long-term power purchase agreements for almost 10,000 megawatts with new build clean energy resources. Okay, why I'm emphasizing this is that in just the past year, the CCAs have added more than 3,000 megawatts. Notably, almost all of the solar contracts signed by CCAs in the last year are hybridized, meaning the solar facilities will be co-located with batteries that can be charged with sun power and discharged at times of peak demand to boost reliability. The list of contracts on the left and the map on the right are available for download on our website. They show the details of the clean energy projects located in 28 California counties, as well as in the states of Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada. These clean energy resources are helping the CCAs meet the renewable portfolio standard and long-term contracting requirements under SB 350, as well as local mandates set by CCA boards. Here's a graph, and I promise there won't be too many of them, showing more detail regarding the diversity of resources at these megawatts. In particular, you can see that CCA's storage projects, which are represented by the shades of blue, came online for the first time this year in 2021, and we expect significantly large deployment of energy storage resources in the next couple of years. One notable new procurement initiative exhibiting CCA maturity is California Community Power, a joint powers authority comprising 10 CCAs. CC Power formed in February of 2021 this year to facilitate joint clean energy procurement and is considering a contract for a 69 megawatt long duration energy storage project and potentially 200 megawatts of additional geothermal and biomass resources. These clean energy resources, along with the many others being procured by all CalCCA members, will help to meet demand during extreme heat events, boost resiliency, and support achievement of the state's goal of a 100% clean electricity system. As I think about powering forward, which is the theme of today's event, I first need to acknowledge the challenging times we have all had to navigate since March of 2020. CCAs that launched in the midst of the pandemic faced an uphill battle, as did many businesses in California. On May 24th, Western Community Energy filed for bankruptcy, citing several reasons, including pressure on cash flow resulting from, well, first of all, high power costs. Remember the August 2020 West-wide extreme heat event, as well as customer non-payment as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and a shortage of resource adequacy. About 40% of WCE's customers were classified as low income and suffered economic hardship. And while Sacramento acted last July to provide utility bill relief, customers and energy providers still won't see any of that payout until 2022, and then only roughly 45% of the balances will be extinguished. Basically, it's a case of too little, too late for a newly launched CCA. While other CCAs may not have been affected as deeply by the factors challenging WCE, all CCAs face an ever-present material challenge, the volatility inherent in the power charge adjustment. The inherent Pcia volatility creates unique challenges to CCA operations as they try to maintain stable, competitive rates for their customers. The Pcia is a material element of CCA customers' total generation rates. When the Pcia goes up dramatically, the CCA must lower its rates if the total of the two elements, CCA rate and IOU Pcia, is to remain relatively stable. Likewise, when the Pcia declines, a CCA has an opportunity to build reserves to keep rates stable through the next big Pcia shift. Unfortunately, the Pcia volatility is inherent in the methodology due primarily to two factors. The Pcia is strongly influenced by changes in market prices, particularly brown power prices. And as we've all seen, both brown power prices and RA prices can move significantly over the course of a year. Prices can also move in unforeseeable ways. The Pcia is also influenced by the accuracy of market price forecasts for a year in advance. A mismatch can result in substantial IOU balancing account balances that must be amortized in next year's rates. These two dynamics were at work over the past 2 years. While 2021 saw a spike in the Pcia, the filings by the IOUs for the 2022 Pcia show a material drop in all three IOU territories. Based on CalCCA modeling, however, we anticipate the rate will snap back in 2023 to 2021 levels based on actual performance of the market. With no relief in sight, CCAs will need to continue to wrestle with the effects of Pcia volatility for years to come. Recognizing this reality, CalCCA took another tack in sponsoring Senate Bill 612 in the 2021 legislative session. The bill never intended to relieve CCA customers of paying their fair share of Pcia costs, but it sought, as contemplated originally by AB 117, to ensure all customers get the benefits associated with the resources they pay for. That was at the core of SB 612, which, as Senator Portantino said, had momentum in the Senate, but unfortunately stalled mid-year in the Assembly Energy Committee. The SB 612 principle, however, may bear fruit in the implementation at the Public Utilities Commission of the RPS Voluntary Allocation Program, pending implementation in the RPS proceeding in 2022, as well as the Commission's promise to consider how to ensure fair access to the GHG-free value of Pcia resources. With all of these challenges in mind, the clear signal to all community choice aggregators is store your acorns. 2022 is a good year to squirrel away reserves to buffer ongoing volatility. While we're on the topic of finances, I want to highlight two important data points that demonstrate the progress of CCAs in financially managing their businesses for the benefit of their customers. First, 5 CCAs now have credit ratings, and in some cases, they have more than one rating. Watch this space as I predict additional CCAs may announce credit ratings in 2022. Secondly, this year, Marin Clean Energy, East Bay Community Energy, Central Coast Community Energy, Silicon Valley Clean Energy, all got together and established the California Community Choice Financing Authority. The goal is to reduce the cost of power purchases for member CCAs through payment structures. CCFA is a joint powers authority which can help member CCAs save up to 10% or more on PPAs, reducing costs for ratepayers and increasing available funds for local programs. In the face of last year's challenges, CalCCA undertook a new initiative to create a best practices and standards framework for CCA operations. We plan to introduce certain components of the framework in regulatory proceedings in 2022. Our aim is to provide greater information to the public, our partners, and regulators about the general health of CCAs. There are 3 legs to the stool: enhanced planning, transparency, and reporting. The first leg focuses on enhancing the implementation plan requirements as well as the implementation process, with new milestones, more standardized risk evaluations, transparency, and more touch points with the CPUC's Energy Division. The second leg of the stool is enhanced transparency, which begins during the implementation plan phase and is expanded and maintained post-launch. As local government entities, CCAs are inherently transparent. However, it is difficult and time-consuming to sift through websites and board meeting packets to find specific documents. CalCCA members will each maintain on their websites standardized information that CalCCA will link to through an information portal on our website. This will provide a one-click or one-stop shop to access materials such as formation documents, policies and guidelines, and financial information such as financial statements, schedule of outstanding debt, budgets, and credit ratings. The third leg of the stool is enhanced reporting. CalCCA members are prepared to provide limited annual reports of certain financial metrics to regulators to provide better information on their financial health. For some CCAs, this is not new. They already post this type of information on their websites. However, that's not the case with everyone. So what we've begun to implement is a standardized format, and we plan to have the portal page up on the CalCCA website next year. We see this initiative as yet another sign of the growing maturity of the CCA community. Finally, a few thoughts about where we are headed. There is no doubt in my mind that there is greater confidence in the CCA model than there was 5 years ago. I predict that this confidence will grow as CCAs continue aggressive growth in clean energy and local programs and continue to demonstrate their financial viability. It will grow as we build coalitions and the capacity to partner with legislators, stakeholders, regulators, and utilities to address complex issues and design a successful pathway to our clean energy future and achievement of our common goals. The continued growth of community choice aggregation will naturally lead to a reshaping of the IOU's role in the retail market. Not only will their load decline, but it may be the right time to shift what are now central procurement responsibilities to a competitively neutral entity. This central entity could assume a number of roles, including central coordination of reliability planning, provider of last resort, and a home for portfolio management for any IOUs that elect to exit the retail sales function. These changes will free up utility resources to focus on mitigating threats to the grid and delivering safe and reliable electricity to customers. Finally, the growth of community choice aggregation brings not only greater opportunity, but greater responsibility. As our market share increases, CCAs must play a more active and central role in the energy policy space, supporting changes that strengthen and provide value to the existing electricity sector and move California toward its climate goals. We look forward to working with all of you as partners in shaping California's energy future. Thank you for your time today.